Good morning.
All right.
Sup?
Mhm. Stop. Stop,
Sup?
stop, stop. Honestly, our communication skills are superb.
I know. Couldn't we have got sexy English accents apparently. So,
Yeah, I know, I
don't
know.
forget.
And we've had somebody else message and say that they really like our accents. And
It's so weird, isn't it?
honestly, that
Because we
that was
can't
so
stand it.
I can't even bear it. I
I
sound
bet
like a
they're not
fucking mong.
I bet I bet there's no English people that would listen to us and go, yeah, that's a
Love that.
sexy accent. They'd be like, oh God, Essex.
Ugh,
Blah.
yeah. What?
Yeah.
Do you know what accent I really like? Like the southern.
What, American?
Hey y'all.
Oh, you're gonna
Yeah.
upset everyone.
I'm like, is that wrong? Oops.
Oops. No, I really do. To be honest, I like pretty much all American accents a lot.
Yeah.
Really love that. And if
Do
I could
you what?
live in America, I would.
I know. Do you watch Ginny and Georgia?
No.
Right. For anybody out there that watches Ginny and Georgia, or for anybody out there that doesn't watch Ginny and Georgia, get on it because it is fantastic. But Georgia's accent, banging. Love that.
Is it a southern accent?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Don't know.
I
But I
think
love
so. I
it.
don't know.
I love it.
Yeah, I love
Um,
that. No, I don't watch many things like that really. I watch like The Walking Dead. I get my
very,
fix of
very different.
America from that.
Very different, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I did watch all the Stranger Things though.
Oh, have you? I haven't because
Mm.
A, they're just too long, man. It's
Oh, they're
intimidating how
so
long
good,
those episodes are. I
but
can't.
so good. It's not
Are
enough.
they?
When you love it and you watch it, it's not enough. They're not
So
long enough.
I got
I'm not going
to
to comment on the end of it because
no,
some of our listeners may not have seen it, and I'm not ruining it for anyone.
no. So I got to like season, I don't know, three or something, and I was like, this is considering it is very far-fetched anyways. I was like, kids fighting the
Far,
Russians? Absolutely not. But give me a
far-fetched.
Demogorgon.
Well, yeah. Claire actually sent me something yesterday that said that there's rumblings that Stranger Things was actually based on a true story. So
Fuck off.
there you go. You heard it here. Maybe not
Right.
first, but you heard it here.
The upside down.
We
All
don't
right,
know what
moving.
goes on at Area 51, do we?
No, but
And if
do you
you
know what
do, can
else?
you just like message me? I will
Do you know what
respond.
else?
What? What else?
Do you know what else?
What else?
Random blams. Go.
Oh,
I actually don't have one. I just
oh well,
suddenly
I
remembered
actually
that.
do.
Oh, I just suddenly remembered. Oh, we need to do random blams. So you can go first.
All right. Sir Isaac Newton invented the color wheel in 1666.
Oh, the color wheel.
Yeah, like with all the different colors on.
Oh,
1666.
I get so like perplexed about timelines of things because I'll be writing a story and it will say it's in 1923, and I'm like, did they have cars then? Did they have lights then? Did they even have electricity then? I get so confused about things.
No,
Like when
I get that.
I was writing this episode and it said, oh, they traveled from here to there, and I was like, oh, they got a car, and then I was like, wait,
Wait,
did they
they
have cars?
travel by boat? Yeah, it's confusing. Um,
Yeah.
the Caesar salad was invented in 1924. Winds on Neptune can blow faster than 1,200 miles an hour. Salvador Dali designed the logo for the Chupa Chups lolly.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? Honey
Yep.
doesn't go off, and 90% of the world's population lives in the Northern Hemisphere. Done.
Honey doesn't go off, but it does crystallize, and then it's
It does.
fucking
Do you
it's
know
shit
what?
in it.
I've gone through a lot of honey, in the last
Oh,
week.
honey.
Honey. And so for the last week, I've had various like jars of honey in like a bowl with like hot water in it, trying to like get it because it crystallizes, man. Does
Yeah.
anyone know how to
I just
stop it happening?
I think it's air, isn't it? Oxidization. That's what makes it crystallize. So if
No,
it's
how
not
do
in a
I stop it
completely
happening then?
you can't, mate.
It's because Claire keeps leaving the top open, isn't it?
Yeah.
I knew this had come about. I've told her about this so many times. Right, wasteful,
That's
Claire.
what it is.
Right, go ahead.
All right. My blam is about the first car. So
Oh,
it says the first practical petrol powered automobile, the Benz patent motor wagon, was built by Carl Benz in 1885.
goodness. I thought the Model T Ford was the first car. Shows what I know.
No, no, and it was just like a seat on some wheels.
Oh, it's not really a car, is it? It's a cart.
Yeah, but it was petrol powered.
Mm,
So although it does look like a cart, it was petrol powered, and
that's pretty
that
cool.
is the definition of a car, I'm afraid.
Mm. Oh, Henry
Right.
didn't get in there quick enough to do.
No.
Never
Brandon
mind.
Blam's done.
Done.
We have got a shout out.
Yeah, we have.
Let's give a massive shout out to Katie because Katie has done the right thing and she has joined the Blamily.
She knows what's what.
She knows what's what.
She wants to be part of
And
the Blamley. We want her to be part of the Blamley, and now she is.
we want everybody to be part of the Blamily, though, to be fair.
No, not everyone. I'm quite selective about who we have as part of the Blamley. I'm not going to invite everyone. There's many a person that I think no,
Right.
no, because I think that our Blamley is special and sacred.
It is, but all of our listeners are wonderful, so
Hopefully,
I'm sure they would be. Unless you give us a negative review on the website, then no.
yeah, exactly. Then
um,
no, we don't
but
want you to
yeah,
be part of the Blamley. We're very
thank you very
protective over our
much.
Blamley members, and Katie, you are so welcome, and you are so protected, so loved. So thanks. This is
I
my
did.
little capybara. He says
I did.
welcome.
Kate, are you all right?
No, I'm so dosed up. I'm so dosed up today.
Jesus
Just gonna
Christ.
let me just sit and have a drink. Right, you carry on.
All right, roll the titles.
Morning.
Oh, morning.
If I go any higher, I'm going to start a whole coughing fit.
Yeah,
So
don't do that.
that is the morning. And if all our listeners, if you can just do a little morning, that will make
Yeah.
up for it.
That was impressively low, though, that first one. I thought it was Barry White for a
I
second.
think you are underestimating how much I've been coughing. Cough, 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 cough. All night, all
No.
day for the last week. Yeah,
Yeah, you do get it bad, didn't you? To
I
be
do.
honest,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm relatively lucky with my health. Cancer aside, I actually don't get poorly.
Yeah. No, that's true. I feel nervous that you're putting it out to the universe.
No, no, I don't. Bring it on. I don't even get poorly.
Don't you do
But
that?
do you know what happened yesterday?
Well, what
So
happened yesterday?
I tell you, we take Caesar over the field, right? And these fields have like weeds and stuff. And when he comes back, I don't know what they're called, but I call them sprickles because they're just like really spiky prickles that attach to his hair.
Makes
He's a golden
sense.
retriever. He's got long hair. I call him Sprickles, and they're fucking sharp as anything. Right? If I try and take them off, they're really sharp. And he was on the
Yeah.
sofa yesterday, and I found one on his little bit of bum hair. So I went to pull it off. Oh my lord! It spickled me so hard in the thumb that I went and I really jumped up. And Josie was next to me. She started laughing her head off, and she was like, "In our nearly 6 years of being together, I've never seen you be so dramatic. You went through cancer treatment. You had millions of needles inserted into you, and not once did you react like that." And I was like, "I'm telling you, that sprickle pained me more than that giant needle I have in my belly." That tiny little, I don't know what it was, little bastard. I said to him, "Have you got a jellyfish on you? Because it stung me so much."
Caesar was like, really? A jellyfish, mum?
Yeah, it really, really stung me. Like I really
Oh,
yelped. I was like, "Ah!" And I don't react like that because that's embarrassing, really.
yeah. Because,
So keep it to yourself if you hurt. Um, yeah, no, honestly,
oh, have you got
proper
any like notable injuries today?
no, of course not.
Oh, well, you're just a fast healer. That's all it is. Doesn't mean that it wasn't justified.
It was real. I could
But,
cut my wrist off and wouldn't react
oh,
like that.
God, that's drastic.
Yeah,
You don't need to
honestly.
do that to prove it to us.
I'll
We
prove
believe
it to you.
you.
I'm not a wuss, Kate. I'll prove it.
I'll
I
prove
am
it.
rock
Look.
hard.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, but you got that out of his little bum
I
hair.
didn't because it sprinkled me, and I was like, "Fuck that!"
Oh,
Then
so
leave
he's
that
still
there.
got really, really sharp, probably with blood all over it, sprickle
Yeah,
still
yeah,
attached to his bum hair.
absolutely. And he's sleeping sound. He's actually dreaming. I can hear him in there.
Oh, maybe he's passed out
Mate.
through bum sprinkle pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, shall we crack on with the episode?
Yeah, I suppose we should at some point, shouldn't we?
Because this is actually a really exciting episode for me.
All right.
Because
Why is it exciting?
my first ever episode of the pod back in January 2023, three
Hmm.
whole years ago,
Hmm.
when I had not a single stitch of hair on my head,
It's true.
was the Pollock twins,
It was.
a story of reincarnation, and a story that was so compelling that I couldn't explain it away.
No, and that doesn't sit well with you.
It doesn't sit well with me, does it? Because I like
No.
to be able to explain it. I like to be able to understand something. So I told this story in the hope that someone could be like, "No, actually, this is what happened." But it's a very, very compelling story of reincarnation. So 3 years later, I am bringing you another extremely compelling, probably more so compelling than the Pollock twins. This story,
Hmm.
and that is the story of Shanti Devi. And Shanti Devi is essentially the poster child for reincarnation. And she's one of the most famously documented and verified stories of a child being able to remember their past life.
Really? Even the little pilot dude.
Yep,
Can't remember his name.
James Linegar.
Oh, you got such a good memory.
Yes, and it also helps that when you type in reincarnation, that comes up. So I've been
Okay.
researching the episode for the past week. So his name has crept up.
Yeah, because that I believe that 100%.
Yeah, but
There's no other explanation
you
other than
just wait.
reincarnation.
You just wait.
All right.
So Shanti Devi was born on the 11th of December 1926 in Chirrawala Mahula, which
Oh
is a
yeah.
small province in Delhi, India. And she was, by all accounts, a very happy, healthy baby. And she grew up in a middle class family by parents that loved her immensely. She was, however, an odd baby, a quiet baby, quite a serious baby. She didn't like babble or goo as most babies do. She didn't start speaking absolute gobbledygook like most babies do.
Yeah,
And from
annoying.
all accounts, it seemed that Shanti didn't speak at all until the age of 4. Her mother, Prem, noticed that she was quite a solitary child and she would play by herself instead of with her siblings. And she always seemed to look concerned or confused. And it was Shanti's sister that actually noticed that Shanti would often speak to herself and speak in a way that seemed incomprehensible to the sister, words that she'd never
Mm.
heard before. And she would tell her mum often that Shanti was saying these weird things to herself. But Prem was just like waving it off as childish nonsense. You know, kids do talk to themselves and kids do say absolute bollocks.
Yeah.
So, but also it wasn't news to Prem that Shanti's behaviour was odd and sometimes a little concerning. So when 4-year-old Shanti asked her mother out of the blue one day, Mummy, where's my picture of Krishna? Prem knew that Shanti had never owned a picture of Krishna, the Hindu god, nor would she have, because Krishna, although worshipped by many Indian people, wasn't a god that they as a family worshipped. But
Hmm.
Shanti was adamant that she'd always had a picture of Krishna hanging over her bed and that she would pray to it morning and night. And she would actually become quite irate and upset when she was told that she didn't have a picture, she didn't pray to it. Prem noticed that Shanti often said odd things like that. And for instance, they were cleaning the silverware one day, and then Shanti would just say, "Oh, that's not how we would clean it in our house." Like just really odd things. So not only did she ask her mother for her photo of Krishna, she often asked her mother where her red sari was. A red sari just like Krishna wore. And her mother knew that there was no point in arguing about the fact that she'd never worn a red sari. She certainly didn't own one. So, and when Prem would dress her, like get her ready in the mornings and dress her, Shanti would often speak about different dresses that she used to wear and say, "Oh, this isn't my favorite dress. I had this one as a favorite dress, or actually, this was my favorite dress." And she would describe all these dresses that she didn't own, all these very elaborate, jeweled type dresses. And again, Prem just put it down to a child's fanciful imagination. But Shanti didn't give up on this red sari. It was her favorite red sari. She loved to wear it, and it actually meant quite a lot to her because of the sort of connection to Krishna. So Prem eventually went out to the market and bought her daughter a red sari. Um, so when she came home and presented it to her daughter, Shanti told her mother, "That's not the right fabric for my sari."
Oh,
And Prem said, "Yes, it is. It's just like you said. It's a red silk sari. The merchant at the stall told me that it was a silk sari." But Shanti said to her, "The merchant must have lied to her. The fabric wasn't real silk." She knew fabrics because her husband had taught her much about these fabrics because he was a fabric merchant. So Shanti often spoke about her husband, and she frequently referred to herself as Chubain, meaning the wife of Tube, and which would have been like the husband's surname.
okay.
And when in when kind of her parents would indulge her about this fanciful life with her husband and things, Shanti would go into great detail about him and describing his appearance, mentioning three distinctive features in particular, saying that he was fair, um, not fair in kind of coloration. His hair wasn't fair, his hair was dark, but just saying he was fair, and that he had a big wart on his left cheek and that he wore reading glasses. She often spoke about her home in Mutra, about her husband's fabric shop located in front of the Dwakadish temple. And apologies if I get these pronunciations wrong because English isn't my best language.
No
um,
language is best.
no. Often at the most random times would she bring up this home, bring up this husband, and for instance, while they would be sat down eating a meal, she would say, "In my home in Mutra, we ate different kinds of sweets." Or she would say that she didn't want to eat a certain type of meat because that's not she didn't eat meat. That wasn't her belief. She wanted this other type of food, and it was always played off as quite childish nonsense because actually there was no place in India called Mutra.
Oh,
So as she grew older, Shanti became more frustrated with everyone around her, more frustrated with life as a small child, more frustrated when people didn't do things that weren't customary to her or how she thought things should be done. And she would shout at her mother on occasions, "You are not my mother. You don't even look like her. This is not my home, and these are not my clothes." Her habit of speaking from the point of view of an older woman, an older married woman living a completely different life, alienated her from her siblings and from other children, from other school children. She was quite segregated from them because she was seen as very odd.
Hmm.
At the age of 6, Shanti got into an argument with two local boys while she was drawing a picture of a temple. And the boys teased her about this drawing, saying that it was wrong. It wasn't an accurate depiction of the temple. It's not what it looked like. But Shanti knew that this was a drawing not of her local temple, but it was a temple from where she lived in Muttra, a temple that she said she visited every morning and would pray to. And this obviously incited more teasing from the boys. Um, and she became very, very sick of other children because to her they were very childish. Their behavior was very childish. She was very much this older spirit. She just didn't handle these sort of childish nonsense. So she actually asked a passerby how far Muttra was, and she was prepared to walk there on foot. But just as she was kind of in the midst of, leaving to go to this hometown in Muttra, the boy's dad actually come out, and his name was Tara Chand. And he kind of overheard this conversation. He was one of their neighbors, and he was a prestigious lawyer. He was very well known, very sort of well to do. And he heard Shanti mention Muttra and heard her say that her husband was wealthy and that she'd used to dance for him wearing churris. So to some people, these words were unfamiliar. But Tara Chand knew that Muttra was actually a place in India about 100 kilometers away called Muthura, known by the locals of Muthura as Muttra. He knew that churris were ankle bracelets and that was a word in the local dialect used by the people of Muthura. And Muthura was also the birthplace of Krishna. So Tara Chand discussed this with Shanti's parents and informed them that perhaps this wasn't the fanciful imagination of a child, more of a child recalling a past life. But Shanti's parents didn't want to believe that. While some Indian religions believe in reincarnation, it was thought that to actually be able to recall a past life meant that that person would live a life of unhappiness. And this wasn't something that Shanti's parents wanted for her. But the evidence was hard to dispute. At age 7, Shanti started to describe her own death, how she had died 10 days after giving birth to her son. She described in detail the labour pains that she had felt, and also the complex surgical procedures that she had undergone in an attempt to save her life. Shanti's parents actually took her to the local physician about this and about the fact that she was saying all these odd things and stuff, and the
Hmm.
local physician actually was very impressed by Shanti's knowledge of these medical procedures that she spoke about. As the months went by, Shanti grew bolder and more confident with her statements, insisting that she be taken back to Muttra, even packing a suitcase and trying to reach it on foot. She didn't belong there with that family. Her name wasn't Shanti. It was Lugdi Devi. And her family and home were with her husband in Muttra. When she was 8, her head teacher, who was also a distant relative of Shanti's parents, spoke to her in school one day because she wasn't shy about these statements that she were making because she was so forceful in her belief that she didn't think it was odd that this was what was happening to her. She didn't belong in these places, and she did recall all of this information. So she was quite vocal about it in school. So the head teacher spoke to her one day and about he said to her that he believed that she was remembering a past life and he wanted to actually go and investigate it. So he asked her the name of her husband, something that she had never divulged to before. People would ask her and things. So historically, when people asked her husband's name, Shanti would blush and kind of hide her face, saying that she wouldn't say his name, but she would know him by face. And this seemed odd at the time, but now that they knew that Mutra was Mutara or Muthara, it was actually customary that wives not utter their husbands' names out of respect.
Oh.
But she was coaxed by the headmaster with the promise that if he was able to locate the husband, he would send her to Mutra to meet him. So Shanti divulged that her husband's name was Pandit Kedarnath Tube. So through some skilled detective work, the head teacher managed to find a man by the name of Pandit Kedarnath Tube, who lived in Mathura. The headmaster wrote him a letter detailing Shanti's account and different things that she had said, and actually asked him to come and visit the little girl in Delhi. And in time, he received a reply. Kedarnath had had a wife that had died almost 10 years ago, 10 days after giving birth to their son. He also confirmed some other details Shanti had no way of knowing. So it was agreed that Kedarnath would send a relative to go and meet Shanti, who would report back to him with his findings. And this relative was Kedarnath's cousin, and he made the 100-kilometer trip from Mathura to Delhi in order to meet Shanti and ask her some questions. When he arrived at her home, Shanti immediately recognized him. Although not being able to remember his name, she was able to remember that he was her husband's cousin. The details of what were discussed aren't particularly known, but the cousin was impressed by Shanti's knowledge of him and the family and decided that Kedarnath had to come and meet her. But still not quite convinced that his dead wife's soul was now residing in an 8-year-old's body, they decided to keep this visit quiet from Shanti. So she had no idea that he was coming, that he was going to visit her.
Right.
And when he did arrive on November 12th, 1935, he did bring along his son and his new wife. And he sat in a room in Shanti's house and waited for her to return from school. And upon her return, Kedarnath introduced himself as Babu Ram Chubi, which was actually his older brother. And he wondered if Shanti would really know who he was or would jump on board with this sort of
Mm.
false name that he'd given for himself. Shanti immediately blushed and stood off to one side. And someone said, why was she blushing in front of her husband's eldest brother? And Shanti said in a very firm voice, no, he is not my husband's brother. He is my husband himself. And then she turned to her mother and said, didn't I tell you that he is fair and he has a wart on the left side of his cheek near his ear? So her mother was absolutely dumbfounded. So she'd given these details about her husband when she was about 4 years old.
Yeah, that's mad.
Definitely having never met him. There was no
Yeah.
chance that she had ever met him. So she asked her mother to go and prepare some food for the guests and gave a particular request. Could she make stuffed potato, parathas, and pumpkin squash? And unbeknownst to her mother, this was actually Kedarnath's favourite dish.
Mm.
And Shanti was overjoyed at the sight of her husband. She was very, very excited. It was very obvious that she was excited. But when 10-year-old Nunita Lau emerged from the mass, she immediately burst into tears. Because Nunita was Lugdi's son that she had never had a chance to meet. And Shanti immediately threw her arms around his shoulders and cried like she had never cried before. And when someone asked her how she recognized this boy as her son, as she'd never met him, Shanti replied saying that he was part of her soul and that her soul recognized his soul. And she cried for about an hour,
Oh
just
God.
hugging this boy. I think she was about 9 years old, and her son was 10. Well, I say her son, this boy
Yeah.
was 10 years old, So it was probably quite a weird sight for everybody to watch.
Mm.
But Shanti showed quite motherly affection to this boy. And she asked her mother to bring all of her toys. She was like, bring all of my toys. And she wanted to give them to Nonita. And then she got too impatient. She was like, I'll just get them myself. And she ran off and she ran to get all these toys and she gave them to Nonita. So later that evening, when they'd had a chance to kind of settle in and to talk, Jedinath wanted to talk to Shanti by herself and to ask her some more personal questions. Amongst them, he asked her if she could tell him something unusual so that he could more corroborate what she was saying.
Yeah.
And she replied happily, saying that there was a well in the courtyard of their house, and that she used to take a bath in it. And she also asked some of her own questions. She mentioned that beneath the floorboards in the house, she had left some uh, rupees, about 150 rupees, with instructions that it be sacrificed to Krishna upon her death. Had he complied with that wish? And she also wanted to know if he had complied with the promise that he had made to her on her deathbed, never to remarry.
Oh.
He glanced awkwardly outside the room to where his new wife waited.
Oh, goodness.
But he had, in fact, made that promise to her that he wouldn't remarry.
Oh.
And Kedarnath asked one last question, a very intimate detail that not a single person but Kedarnath or his wife Lugdi would have known. He asked the little girl that when Lugdi was struck down with arthritis that rendered her unable to move, which was happened quite frequently, how was it that they had been able to get pregnant? By the end of the conversation, Kedarnath left the room in tears, completely convinced that he had spoken to his deceased wife. And during his stay, I think he stayed there for about 3 days, Kedarnath was shocked at how similar Shanti's mannerisms were to Lugdi's. And then it was with a heavy heart that on the 15th of November, he had to leave and head back to Mathura. And Shanti begged her parents to be allowed to go back to Mathura. It was her hometown. Her son was there, her husband was there, as she believed, but her parents refused. News of this possible case of reincarnation had leaked out beyond the family. Shanti's story was all over the news, and it was all anyone could talk about. And it even reached the ears of one Mahatma Gandhi.
Oh.
And he took it upon himself to visit Shanti at her home and to learn more about the girl and the story. And he decided that this story needed more investigation. So Mr. Mahatma Gandhi put together a committee of inquiry, as he called it. And it was 15 hand-selected people, including members of Congress, journalists, government officials, prominent figures of the community, and it was essentially their job to prove or disprove this story.
Oh.
On the November the 24th, 1935, the committee arranged for Shanti to finally visit Mathura, accompanied by her parents and her siblings. The committee documented everything that happened from this point on. And they wrote, as the train approached Mathura, she became flushed with joy and remarked that by the time they reached Mathura, the doors of the temple of Dwarkadish would be closed. Her exact language that she used was the dialect that would have been used by somebody that had lived in Mathura. When Shanti disembarked from the train, an exchange happened that no one had planned, and the committee wrote, the first incident which attracted our attention on reaching Mathura happened on the platform itself. The girl was in El Deschenbu's arms, and so this was one of the committees. And I think she'd been sitting on his lap or something.
Oh.
And they wrote, he had hardly gone 15 paces when an older man, wearing a typical Mathura dress, whom she had never met before, came in front of her, mixed in the small crowd, and paused for a while. She was asked whether she could recognize him. His presence reacted so quickly on her that she at once came down from the lap of this man and touched the stranger's feet with deep veneration and stood aside. On inquiring, she whispered that the person was her Jeff, which means older brother of her husband. And all this was so spontaneous and natural that it left everybody stunned with surprise. The man was Babu Ram Chubi, who was really the elder brother of Kedarnath Chubi. The one, do you remember when he went there and
Yeah.
he pretended to be that guy?
And she was like, nah,
No. So the
nah.
act of touching one's feet was a deep sign of respect in their culture. And this act left the committee incredibly shocked because there really was no way that she could have known who this man was.
Mm,
And like I said, this wasn't a meeting that had been prearranged. This was something that shocked everybody when they stepped off the train and he was there and she was like, "Oh, I know who you are."
Let me touch your feet.
Mm. So Shanti was asked the directions to her home in Mathura, and she said she didn't know them to speak. She wouldn't be able to say this is where it is, but she would be able to take them there if someone would drive. So a tonga, which is a horse-drawn carriage, was gathered, and the driver was instructed to just follow Shanti's directions, no one else's. None of the committee even knew the location anyways, but even if they did, they certainly didn't mention it to their driver. It was their job to make sure all of the restrictions were quite tight. Nobody fed Shanti any information. It all came, it was quite authentically from Shanti. So as they drove, Shanti stared out of this carriage and commented on things, how things had changed in the area over the last 10 years. Some things that were no longer standing or things that were new to the area that she hadn't seen before, all of which would eventually turn out to be accurate. She pointed out different landmarks by name, landmarks that she had mentioned from the age of 4, landmarks that she said that she had visited but hadn't visited. Before approaching the house, Shanti asked the driver to stop. She got down from the tonga and made her way over to an elderly man. She identified this elderly man as being her father-in-law, and to prove this, she recalled the exact words that he had once told Lugdi before her death. And he was convinced that there was no way she would have known what he had said to Lugdi unless she was the reincarnation of her.
Right.
Shanti then led the driver to her former home, one that she had lived in for a short while with Kedarnath. Although she brought the committee to the correct house, they did actually note that there was one inaccuracy. She had told the committee that the house that she had once lived in was yellow, when in fact the house that Shanti had arrived at was actually white. Inside the home, Shanti was tested on where different rooms were in the house. She was also tested on some Matura dialect. That pronunciation has changed every single time I've said it.
Thought they were all different things.
Yeah. Um, and she passed every test with flying colours, clearly able to point to the location of the toilet when asked. But they asked, instead of using the dialect in Delhi, which was the term for lavatory, they used the dialect in Mathura, and she understood it and she knew what they were talking about and she was able to lead them right to it. And during discussions with the new inhabitants of the house, it came to light that the now white home used to be yellow but had recently been painted white.
Well, there you go.
There we go. So once satisfied with the visit, Shanti and the committee walked the short distance, led by Shanti, to the home that she had lived in prior to her death. On her way, she came into contact with a man that she immediately recognised as another of Kedarnath's brother. She spoke to him as though she knew him, asking questions about his life that she would only have known if she truly had met him before. But once at the home, Shanti was immediately familiar with the layout. She even expressed disappointment at seeing her old worship room now being used for storage, and became quite upset when she saw that Kedarnath's new wife's dresses hung where all of her beautiful dresses used to hang.
Mm.
She accurately picked out pieces of jewellery that used to belong to Lugdi that were in amongst Kedarnath's current wife's jewelry. A committee member brought up the well that she had mentioned, this well that she told Kedarnath that was outside in the courtyard that she used to bath in. And Shanti didn't hesitate to take the committee to the location of the well. However, when she reached the area that she was sure it had been, she was confused and she was looking around because there was no well. And it wasn't a big above ground well, but more of like a hole in the ground type of well. And Kedarnath saw her confusion and reached down and removed a concrete covering that he had placed over the well to protect his little boy from falling in it when he was little. The well, it was quite obviously a well, but it had dried up over the years. And the committee also asked Shanti about the location of this buried money, the money that she had asked Kedarnath to donate to Krishna after her death. And this is what the report says. She cast her eyes around and put her foot in a corner, saying that the money lay hidden underneath the spot. The spot was dug up, and about a foot deep under the spot, an old-fashioned gala, which was an arrangement for keeping valuables underground, was found, but there was no money. Somewhat later on, they learned that the money, which was about 150 rupees, like Shanti had said, was taken out by Lugdi's husband, Kedarnath, but he didn't donate it to Krishna as she had asked. He'd actually used it to pay for her funeral, which Shanti was very upset about when she found out.
Yeah. She was like,
Um,
that's not what I said.
uh-huh. Shanti requested that she be allowed to visit the home of Lugdi's mother and father, and again she led them in the carriage to the correct house. The committee actually wrote that first there, Shanti misidentified her mother, um, saying that it was actually her mother's sister, her aunt. So Shanti thought that that was her aunt, but she very quickly corrected the mistake and was like, "Oh no, actually,
Hmm.
um, oh, I've got that the wrong way round. Actually, it was her aunt that she mistook for her mother."
Oh, okay.
But she realized that it wasn't her mother and that it was actually her aunt.
Hmm.
And then she did then go about and correctly identify her mother and father.
I,
The
I get that. I was very close to my mum and my mum's sister.
Hmm.
So I can understand how that, my aunt
Mistake
was always a
happened.
very motherly figure to me.
Yeah,
So I get that. I completely
yeah.
get that. Yeah.
The report states that Shanti sat on Lugdi's mother's lap and the pair cried together this is what they said. It was a very moving moment for everyone to witness.
Yeah.
She was then taken to Dwakadish temple, the temple that she had drawn as a little girl, the temple that Lugdi visited every morning and prayed to, exactly like Shanti had said. The trip came to an end, and Shanti reluctantly left the family that she had once belonged to and headed back to Delhi. And you can imagine how devastating that would have been for her. They almost had to tear her away from her family to bring her back to Delhi, where her
That,
actual family
yeah, that must have
lives.
been awful.
It was very, I think the committee actually did write something about how difficult that was.
Hmm.
And the committee finalised their report saying that all of Shanti's statements were verified to be correct and that she was the reincarnation of Lugdi Devi. They then published this statement in 1936 in a 26-page booklet for everyone to read. I'm just going to clarify that they do have the same surname, Shanti Devi and Lugdi Devi, and that is just sheer coincidence. It's just quite a common
Right.
surname to have, so there is no correlation between the two.
Right.
So as you can imagine, this 26-page booklet gained worldwide attention. Scholars and the like became fascinated with this case because imagine if this little girl could prove that we are reincarnated after death. Like, just imagine if that was true. So her story blew people's minds. But at the same time, it attracted many, many skeptics.
I can
People
imagine.
that wanted to find flaws in the committee's findings because let's face it, how could this be possible?
Mm.
How could it be possible? How could this little 9-year-old girl know all of these details about a woman that died 1 year before she was born? So many people visited Shanti, interviewing her family, going to Mathura and interviewing Lugdi's family, and they all verified the committee's report on what happened. Shanti was even taken back to Mathura a few years after, where she then met with more people in her circle, friends that used to be Lugdi's friends, and she would mention details to them that she had no way of knowing. She would say to them, "Oh, do you remember when I lent you all that money?" And they were like, "Oh, oh,
Oh,
yes. Sorry, I didn't pay that back. Sorry about
I thought we'll
that."
go away with that.
Yeah. So she was just bringing up these details that she just had no way of knowing. One scholar, Stur Lonestrand, got wind of this proven, authenticated case of reincarnation, and he was having none of it.
No.
Absolutely none of it. He flew from Sweden, intent on disproving this hoax, as he called it, this fake story. Long story short, he became the only official biographer of Shanti Devi and
Oh,
wrote the book I Have Lived Before by Shanti Devi.
right. I'm going to make a
So
note of that.
you can't buy it. I looked, it was £157.
So we should or we shouldn't put it on our book blam.
There's no way of buying it. And you can buy it, but it's in Swedish.
Oh,
The translated copy is £157.
what's it called?
I Have Lived Before by Shanti Devi. But there are other books out there that have her story in them. There's quite a lot of books about reincarnation that include quite a lot of different stories. Um, so if you do want to have a look at what they are, they will be on the website under the book blam section. Um, but yeah, so he was just so convinced by her. Like he did so much research, and she was the only she was so comfortable with him as well that she would divulge loads of information to. So he became the only official biographer of her, um, which had not been his intention.
Yeah.
So Shanti continued her schooling. But to the despair of her parents, Shanti actually decided to never marry because, in
Oh,
effect, she saw herself as a widow, and Hindu custom requires that widows not remarry, despite her
yeah.
former husband remarrying.
I mean, that's on him.
That is absolutely on him.
Yeah.
But she felt that that was such a strong belief of hers, so she never married at all, and her parents were devastated.
Oh,
At the age of 21, she underwent hypnosis with investigators, asking her more about what she remembered, more about what she remembered of her death, more about what she remembered between these between lives, this intermission period,
yeah.
because from the time Lugdi died to the time that Shanti was born was a year, although there were obviously 9 months of her being in the womb. So essentially
Mm.
a couple of months of this intermission. And during this time of hypnosis, she had all of this images, memories, everything come to the forefront of her, and she actually started to suffer with like flashbacks and things like that, nightmares, and she was often crying at night. She would wake up in these flashbacks.
Oh,
Um, Shanti then spent her entire life teaching Hindu religion and philosophy and sharing her story of reincarnation with the world. She died aged she died aged 61 on the 27th of December 1987, just 4 days after being interviewed by an Indian researcher. So
oh,
unlike most cases of reincarnation, Shanti never lost her memories. If anything, she gained more under hypnosis. So, in the case of the Pollock twins, generally they get these memories between the ages of like 3, 4, 5, and they start to get older, they fade. And the same as the James Linegar
mm.
case, the 3-year-old pilot. He's was exactly the same. But for Shanti, her memories were just so reinforced and so strong that
Yeah.
she never lost them. And it is believed that Shanti Devi's case is the only authenticated case of reincarnation because of this research. The Mahatma Gandhi's committee, this intensive research that was done about this case. So that is the end of the episode. However,
Hmm.
if you wanted to hear about what Shanti remembered under hypnosis about Lugdi's death and the process in between, I do have that information. But I wanted to discuss the case with you first before
Okay.
I gave that information out, and you'll see why afterwards. But the case as it stands, as I've given it to you there, what do you think?
I think 100% that is reincarnation and something. I don't know, obviously, like what the process is, but somewhere along the line, instead of her memories being completely wiped, something's got through, or she's something's happened to that's enabled her to remember things from her past life very clearly, not just like, oh, deja vu. Oh, I had deja vu then. Do you know what I mean? She's like, I know names, I know people, I know where I lived, I know this, I know, and I don't think we necessarily get that. Or maybe we do, but like you said, as you get older, you kind of lose those memories, and she just hasn't. But I definitely think it's reincarnation, because how else do you explain it? I
So,
just
do
can't
you,
see anything else that would explain what that is.
if you believe that this is a genuine case of reincarnation, do
Hmm.
you believe then that every person is reincarnated?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, I do. But it might not necessarily be all on the same like time scale. Do you know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
it might be choice. Maybe people choose not to come back. It might be, I'm a strong believer in like lessons that are learned as well. If there's certain lessons that aren't learned, then you come back.
Well, it's believed, isn't it, that if you have died quite young, quite tragically, your soul is left unfinished. So it then desires to come back and,
Yeah.
you know, do things that it never got the chance to do, essentially, or
Yeah.
um, something like that. Like in the case of the Pollock twins, the girls died very tragically. They were
Mm,
run over. In the
yeah.
case of James Linegar, he was a young pilot that died in the war. So, but then if that was the case, we would all have, at some point had some sort of tragic backstory. But why is it that some remember and some don't?
Mm,
I find it very, very difficult to comprehend because my logical brain is saying, we've discussed it before, haven't we? I don't believe
mm,
in such thing as a soul. I think that your mannerisms, your person, your being all stems from your brain. It's all very neurological. It's all very science based.
yeah.
So when that stops, there is nothing. There is nothing else. Once that stops, that's it. So for me to believe in reincarnation, that changes everything that I
It goes against
think.
everything you've just said. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It goes against everything that I've just said. But also, on the other hand, I'm not so blatantly stuck in my belief that I can just say, well, Shani was obviously lying. Because how on earth did she remember all of that? Unless it was completely made up. But there are so many people that went there to say exactly what I'm saying now. That can't be true.
Mm,
And there are so many people smarter than me that went there to say that's not true, that had their opinions changed.
mm,
I just find it so difficult to comprehend that once you die, something in you leaves your body, goes somewhere else on this different plane, and then goes like how is that possible? How is it possible that this ethereal energy then makes its way into an unborn fetus?
But energy doesn't die. It just changes form. So when when a person dies, like they've got energy, haven't they? Like a living person has got energy because otherwise they wouldn't be
Yes.
able to move and, speak and
Yes.
think. So where does that energy go?
Right.
Is the
So
physical body the source of that energy, or is that energy actually what we label as your soul?
if we put it quite plainly, electricity is an energy,
Mm.
and that is energy that's out there. If I plug my printer into that energy source, that printer comes on.
Mm-hmm.
Great, that printer has now got this energy that is out in the universe. That printer works. As soon as I turn that printer off and unplug it, the energy still exists out in the world, but no longer in that printer. That printer is, without that energy, that printer is done.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say that then the energy that resides in that printer then goes off somewhere else. Like it's been disconnected from that energy. It no
Yeah.
longer has that energy source. So once we die, we don't have that energy source.
Yeah, but it can't just not exist because the
No, energy
electricity,
exists, but the energy inside us no longer exists because
yeah.
essentially
So,
we've been
but
unplugged.
physically we're not unplugged. So where does that energy go when you die? Because essentially
Mm,
we're all mobile energy units.
yeah.
We're bags of meat that have got
The unit.
energy in. We've
Yeah.
got
So
some form of like electrical energy in that meat bag that makes up a person. So
yes,
when
but
that
that
meat bag stops working, you know what I mean?
I've compared us to printers and you've compared us to bags of meat.
I
We're
mean,
so professional,
so when
so
that bag
eloquent.
of meat is no longer able to facilitate energy, that energy has to go somewhere else
Yes, I agree.
or
So the
be
energy,
something else.
the energy is, the earth. The earth is the energy, isn't it? It radiates from the earth, from the earth's crust. All this radiates. Trees radiate energy. Everything radiates energy. That is a living thing on this earth
Hmm.
radiates energy. But that energy can't hold memories.
How do you know?
It just physically can't, okay? Science, it just can't hold because it is energy. What makes our brain work? Our brain is what stores those memories. Our brain has developed so comprehensively to hold those memories by creating these neuro pathways and things like that. So that when that energy stops, that turns off. That memory box that we've got turns off.
Mm-hmm.
And then the energy is dispersed back into the where it came from, where everything else is, the energy, but it doesn't then contain all of that information that made us who we are. That is stored in the motherboard. Say for instance the laptop, if your laptop dies with all of that information on the motherboard, you that doesn't go anywhere else. That's it. You actually can't power back up your laptop because the laptop has died. You can't power it back up to get that
What's
information
happening to
off
your
the
camera?
motherboard.
It's
Oh,
making
I've
me
I've
sick.
got I've got agitated. I've actually grabbed the laptop.
Right.
I was grabbing the laptop. That's
Right.
what
But my
happened.
point is, when a laptop dies, you don't just take it out and throw it at your local tip because there are people, there are forces that are able to get that information off of that laptop. So you would
Not
need
once
to
it's dead, it can't, can it?
absolutely can.
That's
which
great
is
news because
why
I've got a MacBook.
do not ever just get rid of like a computer. I thought that I had completely wiped my computer like years ago. So I sold it. I sold my laptop. Luckily, I sold it to a really decent guy, and he contacted me and said, I know you think that you've probably wiped your laptop, but I've literally got a whole folder here with thousands of photos on it. Do you want them? Or
Oh,
and I was like, I thought that was pretty dumb, that laptop, but he got
that's
everything
different.
off of there.
Yeah, but
But
that's
what I'm
different
saying
though.
is, like, we have to be open minded to the point that we don't know. We don't know that when we die, our energy just like goes bloop, and it doesn't take any memories with it or anything like that. It just goes bloop out of our body and disintegrates into the earth, and goes into the nearest tree or squirrel or whatever it is. We don't know that that
No,
happens.
but we do
So,
know.
but how how does someone die and the energy that made that person and made their brain spark and work and wonder and love and be filled with rage at some point, everything that's about that person, where does that go when someone dies? Because it
Why
cannot
does it have to
just
go
sit,
anywhere?
because it can't. It
But
is
it
energy.
but it does though. So for instance,
It
in
doesn't.
your brain, you have got everything that makes you you,
Mm.
your mannerisms, your personality, your memories. If you suffer a brain injury, that goes. That just goes. That stops.
No, I disagree. I don't think it does.
It
I
does
think
though.
it doesn't, because I think you can lose the ability to speak and to allow your personality and what makes you funny or what you find funny or all those things, your communication, which is like, your motor skills, your ability to speak and all that, but that person is still in there. It's just their brain is the physical part of their brain is what damaged. I don't believe what you believe, as in your brain is who you are, and how your brain functions is who you are as a person. I don't believe that. I do think it comes from a soul. And I think it's your mechanical side is what makes you able to function or not function, or I think it's all the mechanics of a body. And when you have an accident and you have a brain injury, I think that mechanics side of it is what gets messed up. But I don't think it necessarily changes you as a person.
Okay. So I am going to tell you now about what Lugdi remembered from this in between stage from
Don't you prove me wrong. Don't you flap out a load of proof now. The
in your
end.
face.
See you next week.
I'll get this in my arsenal.
Out
No,
of
I'm
order.
joking. No. So Shanti Devi said that at the time of death there was no pain, and she experienced profound darkness, and she saw a dazzling light, and then experienced coming out of her physical body in vapor form. She said that she saw 3 or 4 young persons wearing saffron or yellow robes, and they took her up a river. It was clean and like pure milk. She said that there were other souls as well, and they were like flames in lamps. And they put her, this vapor form that come out, into a square or rectangle vessel. And then there was a feeling of going up and seeing an extremely beautiful garden on the way up. And she experienced passing through 3 planes and then was taken to the 4th. There was an absence of space. There was an absence of time. Present though on these fourth plane was saints. There was a presence of brightly godly light as well on this fourth plane. Um, she said that she was put on a staircase of silver and gold, which was very bright, for descending back by the same persons that took her up. And then she remembers coming down to a dark cell, and never feeling any hunger or thirst or any sort of passing of time or anything like that. Lugdi said that she also recounted witnessing her own funeral and existing as a tiny speck while entirely discarnate, with no sense of time and space. And then she said she felt herself wedged in between something, which she then later realised was her mother's womb. She said, quote, I was not empty enough. I had so many desires and yearnings. I wanted to come back to Earth. If I hadn't longed so desperately to come back, I would not have needed to incarnate again, but would have been reunited with Brahma and eternal life. So essentially, if we're reincarnated, wouldn't that be the same for everybody? That same process, why would that be different for everybody?
I don't know.
So I kept that piece of information to the end because I actually felt that it just detracted from the story, because the story of reincarnation and of Shanti's memories actually seem very, very real, very easy to kind of understand that she had these memories. But then when I read this and I was like, right, well, none of that makes sense. None of that, like going up into this, seeing this beautiful garden, being a vaporous form, but then seeing a beautiful garden, going through these different planes and seeing
Why do you
these other
think?
people that took her there. It just
Why does that seem unbelievable? Being a vapor form and seeing a beautiful garden. What? Because she
because you
didn't
need
have
eyes to
eyes?
see. Yeah,
No, you don't. Of
you do. Of course, you need eyes to see. If you
course you
don't have eyes,
don't.
you don't see.
Do you not see anything when you dream? Is it just a black
All right, you've got me there.
space?
Okay. I'll let you have that one.
Imagination. You don't
Yeah.
use your eyes for imagination.
No,
You
but
use
you
your
use your
brain.
brain. Yeah,
Yes,
you
you do.
use your brain. She didn't have a brain. She said she was in vapor form and then witnessed going up into all these different levels of planes and seeing all these beautiful things in vapor form. That's just not
Well,
comprehensible.
consciousness is not physical, is it? Is it?
Consciousness is
Come on.
consciousness is born out of connected neurons, which form in the brain.
But it's not a physical thing. Like love is not a physical thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um like fear, the after effects, what's the word I'm looking for? The side effects, I suppose, of feeling fear and feeling
It's
love
physical. Yeah,
is physical, but the actual thing isn't. You can't physically pick something up and go, this is chemically, this tiny, for anyone who's not watching the video, this tiny squishy capybara is love. I want that person to love me. So all I need to do is insert this capybara into that person, into that person, and then they will experience love for me. You cannot physically, sorry, just waving him around, slamming him into the desk. You cannot physically make someone love you.
yeah.
You
I
you
agree
can
there.
you can use certain drugs and things to maybe have the physical love.
I think you've gotten
Um,
sidetracked.
it was all the
I
capybara.
It was. I agree that, conscious thought isn't physical. It's not something you can grab, it's not something you can hold. but I do believe that it is a manifestation of the workings of the brain. And I believe that when that stops receiving the electrical signal, all of that just stops. So that's why I find it so difficult to comprehend that that has then traveled out of your body, which would be a physical thing. Memories, that would need to have been a physical thing for it to have come out of your body and traveled somewhere and gone into somebody else's body. That would needed to have been a
Physical,
physical thing.
physical in the sense that everything on this earth is a vibration. Everything on this earth, it is, that is, you'll appreciate, scientifically proven. Everything is on a vibration. So I understand where you're coming from with that, but I just, there's too much that goes for like people having a soul, that you can be in different lives and you can have different experiences for whatever reason. Like I don't know, but I believe that that is where like ghosts and spirits come into it. Reincarnation, premonitions, all of those things. I think if we're on a higher vibration, then you're open to experiencing these things. And there's certain plants on this earth that people have utilized over the years, hundreds of years, that help you see things like that.
Hallucinogenics.
I swear to God, if I could get my hands on some of this stuff, I'd be
A
so
hallucinogenic.
seeing, not hallucinogenics, but just something that like opens up your mind a bit to like these different vibrations and that. And I
Well,
think,
that's what LSD did, wasn't it?
yeah, I mean, yeah, days of acid. I'm not saying anything, but good times.
But that's why I find these so interesting, because I I don't agree and I'm not convinced. However, I don't have a reasonable argument as to why she had those memories.
Well, I do feel like this podcast has led you away from categorically no to limbo. I
I want
think you're in
someone to
limbo
tell
because you're
me,
like, I
yeah,
do understand that and I do believe that, but I also believe this and understand that.
yeah,
So I'm here.
because no one can say to me, no one can explain to me how that has happened. That's why I don't buy into it.
I'm
Nobody's
trying.
explained to me, yeah, but
Keep shutting me
you
down,
know,
man.
no one has explained to me how I can understand it in a way
Mm.
that makes sense to me,
Yeah, no, I
how
get
that
that.
is. Whereas what I believe makes sense to me, and that's what I hold on to.
Well, I
But
guess it does up to a point. I guess
yeah, it does up
if
to this point. How
yeah,
is that? How do I explain that?
yeah,
Yeah. But anyways,
yeah,
we have got a section on the website for everybody to have their say. So if you've
yes,
listened to me and Kate and gone, you're both idiots, it's this, then
yes.
let us know, because honestly, I absolutely am not so firm in my belief that I'm not happy to have my mind changed. I stick
Well,
with
this is
what
what we
makes
love.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is what we love.
So
Um,
if you've got a version of events that makes sense to me, then great, bring it on.
yeah, I mean, good luck with that, whoever you are, because it's a battle. Every day is a battle. Um, if you have got a theory on this, I'm just finding it on the site. So if you've got a theory on this, we would honestly, this more than any other episode or this subject, we would really, really, really love you guys to weigh in and let us know. Um, so we have got, so I'm just trying to refresh my computer at the same time and it doesn't like it. Right. So we have got in the Blamley section, so you'll need to be a member of the Blamley. So if you're not a member of the Blamley, it's only $5 a month. $5 a month.
We're not that sort of podcast.
Jesus. $5 a month. So what's that in pounds? Like £3 something a month?
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Three quid. And I promise you, we'll make it worth your while. If you don't feel it's worth your while already, then you're mad. Become a member of the Blamley. Go on to the Blamley login and go to theories and listener submissions. And we've got a form on there. And there's some, you can leave us a message. You can put a theory.
It doesn't even need to be a theory, because someone's put no theory, just wanting to say good job. This was hilarious and I listen to it regularly. Thanks for the giggles, girls. That was about the Timothy Dexter case.
Yeah. Someone that just appreciates that episode. You can put whatever you want on there. If it's rude and inappropriate, I shall keep it for myself. But yeah, there's loads of our listeners have commented on there already with their different theories. So yeah, if you've got a theory about reincarnation in general, whack it
Come
on
at
there.
us.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know what you think. How can you better explain it to Sarah and me? We would love to hear it. So get your theories coming in. We're ready.
All right then.
That was great. What a
love
great
that
episode.
I knew it would be a great episode.
Really,
I was excited
really
for it,
great
actually.
episode.
I knew it was going to be a great episode.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll
Brilliant.
see you next week for another great episode.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
That might be it for today's episode, but if you fancy even more weird and wonderful episodes,
head over to perplexedpodcast.com and become a Blamley member for just $5 a month.
You'll get an extra episode every month, plus loads of juicy bonus bits, like really in-depth case files.
All the links are in the show notes.
Come hang out with us on socials too.
And don't forget to follow the show and drop us a cheeky review.
Until next time, bye.
Bye.
This is best friend Suzanne.
Suzanne.
She is the size of walrus. I don't know if you can see.
I was looking at her photos yesterday on the pod. Hi.
So we have decided
Don't give a shit. Oh.
to be best friends. Because historically, I've not enjoyed her company. But we've been loving each other, haven't we, Susie?
Well, that's cute.
Nice, isn't it? That's nice. Love each other.
Oh, kisses.
Sometimes she gives me head boops. Sometimes she gives me claw boops.
Claw boops.
Claw boops.
Suzanne.
She's going.
Oh, Christ.